Hello again. This video should be much faster. So I went ahead and just went to your website and copied this bit of HTML. Actually, I'll just do it again. So just one thing I wanted to just show you is in Chrome, there's this thing. It's called, if you go to More Tools, Developer Tools. That's that thing I just closed. So More Tools, Developer Tools opens up this thing that gives you all sorts of useful information. There's a console window where you can actually kind of type some JavaScript, and actually kind of gives you what's called IntelliSense, where you could kind of knows. It gives you kind of a list of functions that you can execute. It's really useful, especially if you're trying to just learn. You should just kind of go. You can see all the different events that you can add here that we've been talking about on change. You can detect when a user presses a button or whatnot, but just for our purposes, I'm going to look and just copy this HTML. So copy that HTML. I'm going to go to our dirty markup just to clean it up a little bit. There we go. Copy that, and I'm going to put this up. Here we go. So here you've got, this is your external JS that you're doing. Essentially, let's just remove this because we're putting our script just like you have yours. It's already kind of, CodePen's already kind of putting it where you had yours, which is fine. So if you look at your inputs here, what you need to do is you need to add, instead of we're on the button we added, you see on click first problem. Right? Obviously, you're going to want to get rid of this button because you don't want it anymore. So we're going to delete that. And that button's bye-bye button. And instead, we want to add on change on each of these inputs that change. So, and we're going to actually just call our first problem, actually. Just like how you had it before. I would actually call this input change. We'll just leave it. Just for simplicity, we'll just leave this first problem. And you need to do it, and you can actually call the same function for each of the inputs because you're going to get the same result for all three of them changing. So what I'm going to do is, I just kind of like to add these event handlers, is what they're called. I like to add them to the end, just to be clear. So add it to each one, call first problem, and our value is equal to 60, and on change first problem. So now as each of these change, that's right, we need our result. So I'm calling it result. So what we'll do is you want to put your per bulb, and then what you can put is just put a span in here. Span ID is equal to result. Close the span. And the span, since you want it to be inline, you want it to appear just after the bulb. Kind of why I would guess you just want it to appear here. You can just leave it like that. And now you can see as you change here, it is spitting out what is supposed to be our so it takes a second. I think for the on change event, sometimes it takes a second just to, there you go. And maybe what you could do is you can do that, And what we can do is just go into our CSS. So I've just copied the CSS from your site. And if you go to the bottom, right, how you target, you know, hashtag is always for an ID since you have an ID result. And we can just give it a little margin left, 5 pixels, just to kind of push it away. Yep, see how I just did that? You can push it away from it so it looks a bit more clear. You can even do, you know, set the background of it to white, you know, and you can make it look more like an input, so you can add some padding. You know, really up to you how you want to do that. Maybe set the background a different color. Really up to you. It's copyable. You can even, if you really wanted to, you could possibly change this to an input. And make it disabled. And here you would have to set, I think that's a bit overkill really. I think what kind of the solution I just had there, I think it really works for you. So let's save this. So as we change this, okay, let's make sure we have our proper JavaScript here. There's a few things we can do in CSS. First of all, let's make our result let's give it a default value of 0. And we can set, that seems to be fine. There's another thing you can do with something going on here. Look at what's going on. On change, first problem. Change, first problem. Type number. Might be having a problem because of decimal places. I think there's a way you can set an attribute on it. Yep, you can set your step values. So really it's up to you how you want to do this. Where we can set our step values, which makes it a bit cleaner. So I'll let you kind of play with this. Actually, you know what I don't like? I don't like the even adds a little placeholder there, which is your first kind of your initial value. So you can kind of add or remove these attributes or play with them and get the result that you desire. I'm going to put them in each of these and save that. So now when we do our actual increment Okay, another problem we have is our CSS. So must be doing something to the A button, Chrome button. Yeah, here you go. So you can set. Probably want to set a padding in these guys to 5px. Give me a bit more space. Min width, maybe give it a bit more width, maybe 80 pixels. So you get 3 EM. Let's just put it width at. Get rid of mine. Let's use yours. Let's give it just a bit more width. 3.5 EM. Maybe change the font size a little bit. Since we changed our set values, maybe 4 EM would be a bit better. Complaining with our first problem. Console. Let's log our Is that the only place where we have ID as result? Let's get rid of this. You don't really need this button thing anymore either. And let's just put your result outside. Let's just give it a div. Clear our console, save. So it is calling our function. You know what? Could have told you wrong. It could be parse float. So really it's, I think I've given you the idea of how to do it. Essentially, you just need to put the on-change event. You can mess with these different kind of figures and kind of adjust these to be the way that you like them. This is working. The on-change event is only kind of being triggered when the person goes away. There might be a better... All right. Let's just do on key up event because it looks like it'll probably be faster, I believe. Sorry. Jerking you around here, but it just shows you there's just so many different events. So on key up. On key up, on key, oh, on key up. So now we've got what is this error? Oh, I see what we've done. That's why we've been confused. It's added in my dirty markup. Ugh. It's added the surrounding HTML stuff, which we don't need. That should fix up some of our problems. So that's saved. Let's clear console. Nope. Let's try on input here. There you go, Stack Overflow comes to the rescue. There you go. And let's get rid of our consoles because sometimes that eats up a bit of the memory resources. And save that. So you can see it changing pretty fast now. So the on input turned out to be the solution rather than on change. On change kind of is a bit slower. It only does it when you blur, when you exit the element, whereas on input, you know, these browsers change on a daily basis, so usually they're backwards compatible, so this should be fine. So there's your solution. And instead of on change, if you add on input to all your inputs and just call your same problem where it's outputting your final. And I don't know if I'm too happy with this div. I think I want to make this a span so that you can kind of see it in line. I want to put it back in before, where we kind of see it. Oh, we got a open tag here. So you gotta make sure these tags are all clear. So there we go. And then essentially as these change, you'll see your value changes. So that's it. I think that's a pretty good solution for you. And let's call that a day. I'm going to save that, and I will send this to you. And I think we're good.